Cesar Millan has become famous as the dog whisperer, the man who can tame the most untrainable dogs. But now he's being sued, accused of having a pit bull that bit humans and even killed Queen Latifah's dog.
Is the world's most famous dog trainer gone forever? Rumors exploded across social media, claiming Cesar Millan was sentenced to life, leaving fans devastated. But what is the dark truth behind these shocking headlines? Today, we peel back the curtain on the scandals, high-profile lawsuits, and the real-life trauma that might have just cost the dog whisperer everything. The shocking headline. If you spend time scrolling through social media, you have probably seen this viral headline of Cesar Millan pop up on your feed. And this time around, it didn't have anything to do with dogs, but a massive breaking news alert, making millions of fans wonder if the famous dog trainer was actually led away in handcuffs. The truth is, Cesar Millan is not sitting behind bars in a physical prison cell. Yet the real story behind that headline is far more interesting. Behind the Hollywood spotlight and his calm television personality, a much darker reality was unfolding. The fame and fortune came at a heavy price, bringing high-profile lawsuits from injured clients, formal animal cruelty investigations by law enforcement, and even alleged celebrity cover-ups. Here's how this beloved celebrity icon became one of the most heavily criticized figures in the pet industry. But before we get into his fall from glory, we must understand the impossible borders he crossed to build his empire. Cesar Millan was born in Culiacan, Mexico, spending much of his childhood on his grandfather's farm. Being around the farm animals contributed to his insane intuitive connection with the local dogs. While other kids played sports, Cesar spent his days observing and learning how dogs communicated. It got to a point that the local kids teased him, calling him El Perrero, which translates to the dog boy. Instead of feeling insulted, he wore the nickname like a badge of honor. By age 13, after watching classic episodes of Lassie and Rin Tin Tin on television, Cesar decided to tell his mother that one day he would travel to America and become the best dog trainer in the world. Turning that ambitious dream into reality required him taking a life-altering risk. In December 1991, 21-year-old Cesar packed his bag alongside $100 given to him by his father into his sock and headed for the border. He crossed illegally into San Diego without knowing a single word of English. His initial weeks in the United States were brutal. He slept on the streets, avoided immigration officers, and kept himself alive by eating hot dogs from local convenience stores. To earn his first income, he took a grueling job cleaning dirty dog kennels, scrubbing floors for cents, while carefully studying how domestic pets interacted with their owners. Recognizing that San Diego was a tough city to fulfill his dreams, Cesar saved and moved to Los Angeles. There he worked at a car wash to pay rent and also offered to groom and walk the most difficult dogs brought in by wealthy clients. That was when he discovered a massive cultural flaw in American pet ownership. In Mexico, dogs worked on farms and respected authority. But in Los Angeles, it was a lot different. Cesar saw an incredible opportunity where conventional trainers saw pure danger. He became known for rehabilitating dogs that other trainers considered difficult. Word spread rapidly through the wealthy neighborhoods of Los Angeles about the young Mexican immigrant who could instantly transform any dog. His growing reputation for fixing hopeless cases eventually caught the eye of influential entertainment insiders. But as everyone knows, talent alone doesn't build a Hollywood empire. For Cesar, it took an influential celebrity figure to open the gates of stardom. The Hollywood Awakening. That Hollywood connection happened in the mid-1990s when he met Jada Pinkett, who was a young and rising star at the time. She brought her unruly Rottweilers to him for training, expecting a regular dog handler. Instead, she watched him transform her aggressive pets within minutes using nothing more than calm body language. Jada recognized this talent instantly, but she knew there was something holding him back from realizing his full potential. Cesar could barely speak English, which made it nearly impossible for him to explain his methods to his clients or build a mainstream brand in the entertainment industry. Determined to help him succeed, Jada stepped in and made a life-changing investment in his future. She personally hired and paid for a private English tutor to work with Cesar every single day for a full year. As his confidence and vocabulary grew, he learned how to clearly articulate his core ideas, which were crucial in his work life. Now being able to communicate in English and Jada's powerful backing, Cesar gained entry into Hollywood's elite inner circle. He transitioned from a local dog walker to the go-to pet guru for top celebrities, taking on difficult animals owned by stars like Oprah Winfrey, Nicolas Cage, and Vin Diesel. With steady income rolling in and his reputation booming, Cesar took his biggest risk yet by launching his first official dog psychology center in South Los Angeles. This 2-acre facility was a sanctuary for extreme cases, housing a pack of dozens of vicious, rehabilitated dogs living together peacefully. Local residents were routinely stunned by the sight of this new guy walking down city streets surrounded by a massive off-leash pack of pit bulls, Rottweilers, and German Shepherds with no hassle. That striking image caught the attention of local television producers who realized his intense visual style was tailor-made for the exploding world of reality TV. Producers put together a pitch centered around his unique ability to walk into chaotic homes and fix dangerous pet behavior on camera. So in 2004, the National Geographic Channel greenlit the concept, titling the series Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan. The show became an immediate runaway hit, transforming a former undocumented worker into an international celebrity almost overnight. Viewers everywhere tuned in weekly to watch him tame unruly pets with his signature calm, assertive style. With Hollywood's backing, Cesar was about to step into a global spotlight and create a cultural phenomenon. The rise of the Dog Whisperer. Not even Caesar could have imagined just how big Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan would become. Every week, millions of viewers watched as dogs that seemed beyond help were transformed into calm, manageable companions. The appeal was simple. People love watching impossible problems get solved. Behind every dramatic transformation was a philosophy that ordinary pet owners could easily follow. Cesar built his global reputation on 3 core principles: exercise, discipline, and affection, always in that order. He repeatedly explained that the reason dogs act out is largely because pet owners treat their pets as actual children instead of respecting their animal instincts. By introducing the public to the power of projecting calm, assertive energy, he influenced how millions of owners viewed dog behavior. Instead of screaming orders or handing out treats every few minutes, Cesar proved that body language and clear physical boundaries could reshape an animal's behavior in seconds. The hit series quickly turned Cesar from a humble dog handler into an international superstar and a multi-millionaire business mogul. He earned multiple Emmy nominations and published several best-selling books that went straight to the top of the New York Times list. Soon, he was touring the globe, packing out huge auditoriums where thousands of paying fans cheered for his live training demonstrations as if he were some kind of a popular musician. Major brands rushed to put his name on specialty dog food, training leashes, and pet toys, while his face appeared on prominent magazine covers worldwide. For millions of families across the globe, Cesar had become the undisputed authority on dog behavior. He redefined reality television and constructed a massive media empire out of trust and charisma. Yet, behind the sky-high ratings and lucrative corporate deals, a serious conflict was brewing in the background. Certified animal behaviorists and veteran dog trainers were watching his episodes with deep concern, arguing that his television tricks relied on intimidation rather than actual rehabilitation. As the cameras kept rolling, the professional dog training world began organizing a revolt against him. Certified veterinary behaviorists and force-free trainers across the country started launching public campaigns to challenge his methods. They argued that his entire philosophy relied far too heavily on dominance theory, which was an outdated framework that treats domestic household pets like wild wolves, competing for leadership in a pack. Dominance theory is widely criticized for domestic dog training. Genetic studies and animal behavior research proved that dogs are not constantly plotting a hostile takeover of the living room. Despite these scientific findings, the show continued to promote the idea that owners needed to act as the dominant alpha at all times. Experts argued that Cesar's signature techniques, including pinning an aggressive dog to the ground in an alpha role, or using swift physical corrections on the neck, relied on fear and physical confrontation rather than actual education. To millions of television viewers, watching a frantic dog suddenly freeze on camera looked like a miraculous transformation. But to animal scientists, that sudden shutdown was really alarming. They labeled the behavior as learned helplessness, which is a recognized psychological state where an animal gives up completely and goes quiet out of sheer terror. This usually happens when a dog feels it can't escape from a dominant threat. Instead of curing the animal's underlying anxiety, behaviorists warned that forced submissiveness was simply suppressing aggressive urges that could explode unexpectedly later on. The public debate quickly grew from private trainer forums into a major corporate headache for television producers. Major animal welfare organizations, including the American Humane Association, sent formal complaints straight to network executives. They urged the network to reevaluate the broadcast and warned that millions of untrained viewers at home were getting severely injured while attempting to replicate these risky physical moves on their own pets without professional supervision. Cesar stood his ground against the mounting scientific criticism, defending his life's work. He maintained that soft, treat-based training might work fine for teaching a puppy to sit, but it failed when dealing with severe behavioral crises. He reminded his critics that he was routinely called in to handle red zone dogs, dangerous animals that had already bitten humans and were facing immediate euthanasia at local shelters. To him, using firm physical discipline to reshape a dog's mindset was the only way to save its life. The back and forth was one thing, but seeing blood on camera changed everything. The 2016 Animal Cruelty Investigation. In a 2016 episode of his follow-up series, Cesar 911, Cesar took on a high-risk case involving a French Bulldog Terrier mix named Simon. Simon possessed a notorious history of attacking farm animals and had already killed 2 pet pigs. To rehabilitate the dog, Cesar set up a training exercise in an open enclosure with a live pig. During the exercise, Simon suddenly broke free from Cesar's grip and charged across the yard. Before anyone on the crew could intervene, Simon lunged at the pig and bit its ear, leaving the animal injured. The graphic footage aired on television and instantly exploded across the internet, sparking a massive wave of public outrage. Within hours, the clip went viral online. Thousands of furious viewers and animal welfare advocates signed petitions and demanded that law enforcement arrest the celebrity trainer. The public outcry became so severe that local authorities took immediate action. Officers from Los Angeles County Animal Care and Control, joined by sheriff's deputies, paid a surprise visit to his Santa Clarita training center to inspect the grounds and investigate the scene. Law enforcement opened a formal investigation into potential misdemeanor animal cruelty charges, and of course, news outlets worldwide picked up the story, which caused a lot of media outrage. Major television networks ran breaking headlines announcing that the world's most famous dog trainer was officially under criminal investigation. The public backlash threatened to ruin his entire media empire and erase the legacy he had built over 2 decades in Hollywood. For several weeks, investigators carefully reviewed the unedited raw footage. They also interviewed the television crew and examined the pig. They confirmed that the injured animal received immediate medical treatment and suffered no long-term harm. After completing a thorough review, officials concluded that the incident was an accidental training mishap rather than deliberate animal abuse. The district attorney officially dropped all potential charges, fully clearing Cesar of any criminal wrongdoing in the case. Even though he escaped criminal charges in 2016, his personal life was already collapsing behind closed doors. The darkest year: loss, divorce, and surviving the edge. Just as life started going well for Cesar, he had moments of weakness along the line that went south real quick. The primary catalyst for his downward spiral happened in February 2010 with the tragic death of Daddy, his beloved pit bull. Daddy was far more than a standard family pet. He served as the calm, steady anchor of Cesar's entire pack, helping rehabilitate hundreds of aggressive animals on national television. When the gentle 16-year-old dog passed away, the emotional foundation of Cesar's world completely shattered. The grief was already overwhelming, Yet a second crushing blow struck only a few months later. His wife of 16 years, Illusion, officially filed for divorce, demanding primary physical custody of their two sons alongside half of his assets. As lawyers examined his business accounts, Cesar discovered another nightmare. Early in his career, unfamiliar with American contract law, he had unknowingly signed away the legal rights to the lucrative Dog Whisperer brand name. Despite the show generating hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide, corporate executives owned the rights, leaving Cesar facing potential financial ruin alongside his broken home. The sudden loss of his iconic dog, his marriage, and his life savings plunged the celebrity trainer into a deep clinical depression. The man who spent years teaching global audiences how to project calm power felt entirely defeated, powerless, and consumed by guilt. In May 2010, believing he had hit an impossible dead end, Cesar attempted to take his life by swallowing a heavy overdose of prescription medication. He survived the overdose and was later sent to a psych ward for further mental evaluation. Surviving an attempt to take his life made him realize he had reached the lowest point of his life. All his life, he had worked to get the life of his dreams, and now that he had it, it seemed to be taking every joy he had. During those quiet days of medical care, he chose to apply his own core training philosophy to his personal life. He remembered that dogs never spend time dwelling on the past or worrying about tomorrow. They live strictly in the present moment. He decided to fight for his survival and rebuild his mind step by step. Over the following years, Cesar made an inspiring personal recovery. He leaned into focusing more on his physical health, reconnected with his sons, and slowly rebuilt his training business from scratch, one day at a time. Not only that, he also formed a fresh pack of dogs, secured new international media deals, and took direct control of his career. Through pure resilience, he pulled himself out of the darkness and restored his empire. Just as he reclaimed his life, a terrifying legal nightmare involving his new dog threatened to take him back to square one, putting his life at risk once more. After the painful loss of Daddy, Cesar brought home a gray pit bull puppy he named Junior. He spent years training Junior using his exact pack techniques, turning the dog into his main assistant and showing him off on television. Junior was presented to millions of viewers as living proof that pit bulls could be gentle and obedient. However, that carefully built public image shattered in 2021 when a bombshell lawsuit sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. A promising young athlete named Lydia Mattis filed legal papers against Cesar, claiming that Junior had viciously attacked her at his California property. According to court documents, Matisse was visiting her mother, who worked for Cesar inside his office building. She claimed the pit bull was left roaming through the halls, completely unsupervised and without a leash. Out of nowhere, Junior allegedly snapped and launched a violent attack, mauling her legs. The severe bites caused extensive physical damage, forcing her into painful medical treatment and ending her promising career as a high-level gymnast. The lawsuit contained an even more outright claim that stunned the public. The court filing alleged that Junior possessed a known history of unprovoked aggression, including a prior incident where he mauled and killed a dog owned by legendary entertainer Queen Latifah. The legal documents made a damning allegation regarding what happened after that earlier incident. Matisse claimed that Cesar actively covered up the truth, ordering his staff to tell Queen Latifah that her dog was struck and killed by a car rather than admit his own pit bull killed it. These disturbing cover-up accusations threatened to permanently destroy his reputation among the elite Hollywood client base that built his career. If high-profile stars believed he lied to protect his business, his multi-million-dollar brand would never recover. Cesar and his legal team pushed back hard against the claims made in court. They vigorously denied any cover-up took place, claiming the allegations were completely fabricated to extract money from a famous celebrity. They also argued that Matisse was fully aware of the animals on the property and assumed the risk by entering the area. The legal team worked behind the scenes to avoid a long public trial that could drag his name through the news for months. In 2022, both sides reached a private financial settlement out of court, bringing a quiet legal end to the matter. The Queen Latifah case wasn't swept under the carpet at all. In fact, it was part of a pattern of civil lawsuits that fueled the sentencing rumors. The trail of lawsuits. Operating a specialized facility that explicitly takes in red zone dogs carries immense, unpredictable risks. These are animals with severe histories of biting, territorial aggression, and unpredictability that other trainers refused to touch. Putting volatile dogs into rehabilitation exercises meant that even a tiny lapse in supervision could lead to serious physical harm. In 2015, those operational risks exploded into a major legal battle that made national headlines. A critical care nurse named Allison Bitney filed a high-profile lawsuit against Cesar after being brutally attacked by a pit bull named Gus. In her court filings, Bitney alleged that the dog's psychology center committed severe negligence. She stated that Gus was placed at the facility due to a documented history of violence, yet the staff released the dog back to its owner after only 6 days. Less than a week after leaving the facility, the dog snapped during a visit, launching a sudden attack that left Bitney with permanent nerve damage, loss of feeling, and severe disfiguring wounds on her left hand. This was far from the first time Cesar faced legal action over facility operations. Back in 2006, a television producer named Flavio da Silva sued him after a pit bull suffered severe physical injuries while using a facility treadmill during a training session. Layer after layer of these continuous civil liability lawsuits took a huge financial toll on his business over the years. Defending his brand against multi-million-dollar injury claims required an army of expensive attorneys, skyrocketing insurance premiums, and endless legal battles. The ongoing courtroom pressure eventually forced Cesar to execute a complete protocol overhaul at the Dog Psychology Center. He introduced much stricter intake rules, longer evaluation periods, updated facility waivers, and tighter safety guidelines for his staff members. While these high-profile injury cases damaged his public reputation, there was a critical distinction that many casual news readers completely missed. Every single one of these battles took place in civil court, where private parties fought over financial compensation. None of these cases involved criminal charges, police handcuffs, or a judge handing down jail time. If these lawsuits were civil, how did the internet convince millions that he was sentenced to life? The real life sentence of Cesar Millan. It is a known fact that Cesar Millan was never handed a criminal prison sentence by a judge in a courtroom. His real life sentence is a self-imposed lifelong commitment to working with dogs every single day. For someone who had dedicated his entire adult life to understanding animal psychology, he chose a path that binds him to canine rehabilitation for as long as he lives. Today, that lifelong sentence plays out across his sprawling 43-acre dog psychology center in Santa Clarita, California. Away from the studio lights of Hollywood, his daily routine revolves around structured pack walks, physical exercise, and constant observation. He continues taking in some of the most difficult, abandoned, and dangerously aggressive animals that shelters and owners cannot handle. Sustaining this mission over a 3-decade career demanded enormous personal sacrifices, costing him his personal privacy, damaging his relationships, and pushing his mental health to the absolute limit. Over the years, his approach to animal rehabilitation has quietly evolved. While he still preaches rules and boundaries, he adapted his training style to integrate softer, modern behavioral approaches that focus heavily on positive reinforcement alongside physical movement. He spends much of his time traveling the globe, conducting massive live seminars. During these events, he focuses less on training the animals and more on teaching human psychology, showing owners how their daily stress, anxiety, and chaotic emotions transfer directly down the leash to their pets. His staying power in the media remains remarkable. Decades after his initial television debut, he continues producing popular series, including his recent show, Cesar Millan, Better Human, Better Dog. Rather than stepping back into comfortable retirement, he stays out in the field, working directly with troubled pets and their owners every day. His current work remains highly active, but his ultimate place in history is still fiercely debated. To truly understand where he stands today, we have to look behind the closed doors of his actual working operations. Away from television cameras and red carpet events, Cesar deliberately moved his primary headquarters away from crowded city streets to a remote 43-acre compound in Santa Clarita, California. By isolating his facility in the mountains, he could eliminate random neighborhood triggers like loud sirens, passing mail trucks, or surprise visitors that easily set off these unstable and potentially dangerous dogs. The physical reality of the Dog Psychology Center is quite different from what you would imagine a typical doggy daycare to be. It has high perimeter fences, reinforced gates, and specialized training zones that divide the property into controlled sectors. Unpacking the daily routine is a high risk on its own. Staff members integrate 50 or 60 highly aggressive, powerful dog breeds into a single running pack. It is a lot of work, especially having to bring dozens of animals with histories of violent behaviors. The trained handlers on site walk a razor-thin margin between a smooth exercise session and a sudden, bloody emergency. A single stiffened tail or a hard glance between two dominant pit bulls can trigger an instant chain reaction, forcing staff to react in milliseconds. This extreme environment caters to a very specific and desperate group of people, from really wealthy pet owners, corporate executives, and Hollywood celebrities who pay thousands of dollars. For these clients, the center represents the absolute final alternative before putting their pets down. Handling such high-risk animals creates a massive operational nightmare when it comes to business logistics. Securing corporate liability insurance for a facility packed with unpredictable, red-zone dogs is nearly impossible. Insurance carriers demand endless safety disclaimers and charge astronomical monthly premiums to cover the compound against potential lawsuits. At the same time, the sheer cost of keeping the facility running is staggering. The monthly overhead required to feed, secure, medicate, and care for hundreds of animals simultaneously runs into tens of thousands of dollars. Massive food deliveries, round-the-clock veterinary care, property maintenance, and specialized staff payroll create a relentless financial strain. He has to continually generate income through media projects, brand deals, and public speaking tours, simply to pay for the massive resources needed to keep those heavy iron gates open. Legacy of the Dog Whisperer. Looking back at Cesar Millan means confronting a fascinating paradox. To millions of everyday pet owners around the world, he remains an inspiring hero who rescued dangerous pets and taught families how to communicate with their animals. To university researchers, veterinary behaviorists, and scientific experts, he stands as a deeply controversial figure whose core philosophy caused widespread alarm. Despite the endless debates among experts, nobody can deny his massive cultural impact. He single-handedly pulled dog behavior out of obscure academic textbooks and thrust it straight into global primetime television, completely changing how the general public views domestic pets. His positive contributions to animal welfare are undeniable. Before his rise to fame, local shelters routinely euthanized dogs with severe behavioral issues because owners lacked the tools to handle them. Cesar stepped directly into those high-risk situations, taking on the absolute worst cases that society had written off as unsavable. He gave thousands of dogs a second chance at life, while proving that exercise and structure could fix seemingly hopeless situations. By demonstrating that animals need clear leadership, he helped millions of households create safer environments for their families. At the same time, his massive media empire left behind a complicated and risky legacy. Millions of everyday viewers watched 60-minute episodes and tried to replicate his physical corrections at home without understanding the underlying mechanics. Without his decades of experience, untrained owners got severely bitten while attempting risky physical maneuvers on their pets. Yet this widespread misuse triggered an unexpected revolution in the pet industry. The intense pushback against his dominance methods actually accelerated the growth of the modern force-free training movement, inspiring a new generation of trainers to champion science-based positive reinforcement. Getting to know who he really is separates the polished television personality from the real person behind the scenes. The Dog Whisperer was a carefully crafted Hollywood character built to generate massive cable ratings. The actual man is a flawed, resilient immigrant who built an empire from nothing, survived devastating personal losses, made genuine operational mistakes, and fought through relentless legal battles. Cesar Millan didn't end up behind bars, yet he remains locked inside a legacy he can never truly escape. What do you think? Is he a pioneer who saved thousands of dogs, or a relic of an outdated era? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more videos like this.